AITA for walking away after my fiancée laughed and said that I was never her only option? I'm 28, a crane operator. It's a union job with great benefits, zero debt, and I can place a 300-ton load with the precision of a surgeon. We're talking about moving steel beams 60 stories up with crosswinds that would make an airline pilot nervous. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills and covers my Ford F-150 payments. My base salary is $78,000, but with overtime, I cleared $95,000 last year. I like a simple, organized, drama-free life. Well, Brianna was the complete opposite. She was 26, looked like the younger sister of any given Instagram influencer, and worked part-time at a boutique called Sage and Crystal, selling overpriced candles to suburban moms deep in their midlife crises. Her monthly income was as predictable as Chicago weather. Sometimes it was $800, sometimes $200. Most of the time, it was just disappointment and excuses about the slow season in retail. The rest of her time was dedicated to content creation, which is millennial speak for standing in good lighting and talking about absolutely nothing while holding products she didn't pay for. Her follower count had been stuck at 847 for 2 years, but she acted like she was one viral TikTok away from letting me retire early from my crane. She'd spend hours setting up ring lights and filming herself applying lip gloss while talking about authentic living and finding her purpose. We had been together for 3 years, engaged for 8 months. Yes, a huge mistake, but what's done is done. The engagement ring cost me 3 months' salary, a 2.3-carat princess cut from a well-known jeweler that she picked out herself. Obviously, it had to be at least 2 carats because anything smaller would be, quote, embarrassing in photos. The wedding was set for September 15th at a country club charging $180 per person. The deposits were paid. Everything was in motion. The first year, though, was good. She was sweet, funny, and had this way of making even grocery shopping at Trader Joe's feel fun. She'd put on this fake, innocent voice when she wanted something, batting her eyelashes like she was auditioning for a 1950s sitcom. I'll admit, it worked back then. She would cook sometimes, genuinely listen to my stories from the job site, and we'd binge-watch entire seasons of shows together. But the second that ring was on her finger, something shifted. Suddenly, she was a bride-to-be, which apparently meant her only job was to plan the wedding while I financed literally everything else. She joined every wedding-related Facebook group imaginable, subscribed to 4 bridal magazines, and started treating Pinterest like it was a full-time job. Her contribution to our relationship boiled down to posting Instagram stories about having a real man who treats her right and putting future Mrs. Miller in her bio. Meanwhile, I was paying the rent, $1,850 for a 1-bedroom, utilities, between $200 and $300, groceries, $400 to $500, car insurance, $280 for both of us, our phones, $150 for the family plan, the wedding expenses, and basically everything that kept her princess lifestyle afloat. She had this habit of telling me she'd Venmo me later for dinners. An $85 steak would become, oops, I forgot to send it. A $120 shopping trip to Target would become, I'll get you next week. Then, oops, I forgot. And then it just became the norm. I paid for everything while she collected likes on photos of the life I was funding. To be fair, in the beginning, she kept the apartment clean and always talked me up in front of her friends. She knew exactly when to flatter me after a tough day on the site. I'd come home exhausted after maneuvering machinery in 95-degree heat, and she'd have a cold beer waiting, genuinely listening to me complain about incompetent ground crews. But even then, the red flags were popping up like a game of whack-a-mole. She would trash her own friends behind their backs, especially the ones whose boyfriends had normal jobs. Sam's boyfriend looks like he stocks shelves at Home Depot, she'd say while scrolling through Facebook. Meanwhile, I was literally operating heavy machinery 40 stories up, coordinating with engineers, and making split-second decisions that could cause a serious incident. But apparently, that's different because I wear a hard hat instead of a suit. Her family was your typical suburban dysfunction. Her mom, Marianne, treated Brianna like some sort of displaced royalty, always gushing about the wedding, asking when we were having kids, and dropping hints about a bigger house. She'd corner me at family dinners for 20-minute monologues about how Brianna deserved the best and that a real man provides. Her dad, Gerald, a decent enough HVAC technician, looked like he was just trying to make it to retirement without having a stroke. He'd nod along while Marion talked, mentally calculating how many years he had left until he reached escape velocity. At least he appreciated that I had a solid trade. We'd often talk construction and building codes, and he'd give me these looks that clearly said he understood what I was going through. Her brother, Caleb, was the only one with any common sense. A mechanic, a good guy, he ran his own shop. He'd been giving me subtle warnings from the start. "Watch your wallet with that one," he'd say with a laugh that wasn't really a laugh, especially after I put a ring on her finger. I should have listened. I wasn't completely miserable, though. I had a plan. My buddy Gavin had been trying to get me to move in with him for months. Let's just say that plan got fast-tracked. Thursday arrived like any other day. I came home from work covered in concrete dust and crane grease, looking forward to a shower and maybe some Netflix. We'd been dealing with a particularly brutal steel placement all week on a 40-story downtown office building where the architect seemed to think gravity was optional. I was exhausted, my back ached, and I just wanted to unwind. Instead, I walked into the eye of Hurricane Brianna. She was pacing the living room, phone in hand. Bridal magazines were scattered across the coffee table. Her laptop was open to 17 different tabs showing destination wedding venues. "We're going to Cabo," she announced without even looking up from her phone. "What?" "My cousin's wedding. It's in Cabo. 5 days. I already RSVP'd for both of us. It'll be perfect for content. You know, an engaged couple at a destination wedding." She was already mentally planning her Instagram posts. I just stood there processing. "When?" "Next month. I already put our flights on hold. You need to pay for them by tomorrow." She said it like she was giving the weather report. The casual way she dropped it, like she was just asking me to pick up milk, made my left eye twitch. I was working 60-hour weeks to keep up with our own wedding expenses, and now she wanted to drop another $2,000 on someone else's party. Can I even get the days off? "You'll figure it out. You always do." She was already scrolling through photos of the resort, probably calculating how many outfit changes she'd need. "Brianna, that's like $2,000. For a weekend. We're already spending $42,000 on our own wedding." I gestured to the stack of vendor contracts on the kitchen counter, each one with my signature, my credit card number, my financial future. She finally looked up from her phone and rolled her eyes. "Evan, it's just one weekend. Don't be such a baby. We're engaged. This is what couples do." Rachel and Mike went to 3 destination weddings last year. It's not about the weekend, it's about respect. You can't just make decisions for both of us and expect me to bankroll them. I could feel my blood pressure rising. It was the same pattern every time. She made plans, I questioned the cost, and she made me out to be the bad guy. She actually laughed. A real, head-thrown-back laugh, like I'd just said the earth was flat. "Respect? Evan, what do you think? You're my only option? I could have had a ring from 3 other guys before you finally got around to it." She waved her phone like it was proof of her desirability. "Brad has been texting me for months. Tyler is always sliding into my DMs. I have choices." The words hit like a slap. This girl, who hadn't paid her own phone bill in 2 years, and who was wearing an engagement ring I went into debt for, was standing there acting like she was holding auditions for my replacement. "Absolutely not," I finally said. She nodded as if it confirmed her point. "Exactly. So stop acting like you're owed an explanation. I'm an independent woman, and after we're married, you'd do well to remember that. An independent woman who needed me to pay half her electric bill. Right." She grabbed her purse, the $400 Michael Kors bag I'd bought for her birthday, and slung it over her shoulder with theatrical drama. "I'm going to Tessa's to work on wedding stuff. Think about your attitude before I get back." The door slammed hard enough to rattle the picture frames. Frames holding pictures of trips I'd paid for, dinners I'd covered, moments I'd financed. I just stood there, looking around this apartment I paid for, filled with things I'd bought, surrounded by wedding magazines I'd never read. And I realized something important. This wasn't a loss. This was my get-out-of-jail-free card. It was time to let those options clock in. Now, let me tell you about my buddy Gavin. He's been my best friend since 6th grade, back when we convinced our substitute teacher that the class hamster was diabetic and needed sugar packets urgently. He's the kind of guy who can talk his way out of anything and has zero tolerance for drama. He's a welder, makes good money, and had this great two-bedroom apartment across town with an in-unit washer and dryer, a balcony with an actual view of the skyline, and a parking spot that didn't require a degree in advanced mathematics. I'd been dragging my feet because change is hard and I'm a bit lazy, but Brianna had just served me motivation on a silver platter. That night, I texted him, "Yo, I'm pulling the plug. Still down for a roommate?" His reply was immediate. "Bro, I thought you'd never ask. Did she finally reach her final form?" "Yeah. She hit me with 'you think you're my only option?' LMAO. Bro, she thinks she's the main character in her own Netflix show. When are we moving you in?" "This weekend. I'm ghosting. Wedding's off." Dude, that's like $40,000 in deposits down the drain. Still cheaper than a lifetime of this crap. I'll stock the fridge with Hot Pockets and emotional detachment. Gavin was on board. He'd been watching this train wreck for 3 years, occasionally dropping hints that I was dating a financial vampire. The man had patience, I'll give him that. Friday morning came, and Brianna was at work. The boutique opened at 10 a.m., which meant she'd be gone until at least 3 p.m. A perfect 5-hour window. Operation Financial Independence was a go. First mission, her phone. She'd been on my family plan for 2 years because it's cheaper. Yeah, for her. I logged into my Verizon account and removed her line like I was clearing browser history before a job interview. I felt $85 a month instantly lift from my shoulders. Next, the streaming services. Netflix, Hulu, Max, Disney Plus, Spotify Premium. All mine now. I changed every single password. She was the primary user on most of them, watching reality TV while I was out earning the money that paid for them. Then I called her gym, Planet Fitness on Ridge Drive. She'd been a member for 8 months and had gone exactly twice. Both times were to film herself doing yoga for Instagram stories about Self-Care Sunday. The membership was $89 a month for the premium package because she needed the massage chairs. Cancelled. Next was car insurance. She was on my policy because dealing with insurance gives me anxiety. Growing up gives everyone anxiety, sweetie. I removed her from my State Farm policy and watched my monthly premium drop by $150. Turns out, insuring a 26-year-old driver with a past speeding ticket is expensive. Who knew? Then came the wedding cancellations. I spent the entire morning on the phone with vendors, armed with a legal pad and a grim determination usually reserved for tax season. First, the venue, Riverside Country Club. The $8,500 deposit was non-refundable, but I had to try. The coordinator, Marla, sounded almost relieved. "Honestly, Mr. Miller, you're the 3rd cancellation this month. The economy is making everyone nervous. No refund, but they canceled the remaining balance." Next, the caterer, Derek's Fine Dining. A $12,000 deposit for 150 guests. The owner was surprisingly cool. "Brother, you're dodging a bullet. I've seen too many guys go broke trying to impress people who don't even like them." He kept $4,000 for administrative fees, but refunded me the rest. The DJ was easy. A local guy. He kept $500, gave me back $1,200, and even thanked me for being upfront instead of just ghosting. The photographer, Nora, kept $1,000 of the $3,500, but seemed thrilled to have her September Saturday back. The florist was a nightmare. A fancy place called Petal and Arrangement kept the full $2,800, claiming they had pre-ordered the stems. A total scam, but I didn't have the energy to fight it. Most of the deposits were lost, but I still clawed back about $8,200. Every call felt like lifting another weight off my chest. And anyway, it was still cheaper than a divorce. The wedding dress was the best part. She had it on layaway at David's Bridal. A $2,100 monstrosity with enough beading to outfit a small army. She'd been making minimum payments while I covered the rest. I called, explained the situation, and got a full refund since she had never taken possession of the dress. $2,100 back in my pocket, just like that. Before I packed, I did something petty but necessary. I printed out a high-resolution photo of me holding a whiteboard that said, "Save the date. Never." I replaced the main mirror on her vanity with the photo and aimed her ring light so it would frame it perfectly the second she turned it on. Then I took the engagement ring. It was sitting in its little velvet box on her dresser, probably worth more than my pickup truck. I wasn't going to sell it. That felt petty, but it was mine, bought with my money, and she wasn't getting a parting gift for being a catastrophic partner. By lunchtime, I had everything moved out. The 75-inch Samsung TV I'd bought, my PlayStation 5 with my entire game library, my Craftsman toolbox, my desk, the $800 Keurig machine she always called ours. I left behind her Amazon boxes she refused to break down, the weird feather lamp she claimed stimulated her creative energy, and about 40 bridal magazines that were now essentially overpriced toilet paper. Final touch, I had kept the receipts. Not just in my head, but actual receipts. Screenshots of every Venmo request, every utility bill I'd paid, every wedding expense, every broken promise of repayment. 3 years of financial martyrdom, all documented like I was prepping for a tax audit. The folder was 2 inches thick. Saturday morning, I dropped my last box at Gavin's place. He helped me carry it up, handed me an ice-cold Bud Light, and said with perfect seriousness, "So, how does it feel to finally escape the financial Venus flytrap?" We high-fived. He walked into the living room, flopped onto the couch, and let out a massive, unashamed, trucker-worthy burp. She's gonna lose it when she finds out the bridal shop doesn't offer payment plans on dresses that don't exist anymore. We fired up the PlayStation and launched Call of Duty. Between matches, Gavin looked at me and said, "Now that you're free, can we agree your ex-fiancée looked like she straightened her hair with a waffle iron?" I almost choked on my drink laughing. That's the thing no one tells you about inner peace. Sometimes it doesn't come from meditation or self-help books. Sometimes it's just a cold beer, a controller, and your best friend roasting your ex while, somewhere across town, a woman is probably screaming at her Wi-Fi router, wondering why David's bridal is demanding payment in full. Saturday evening, right on schedule, my phone started blowing up. Except it wasn't her number. It was Caleb's, her brother, being used as a middleman like he was customer service for a dysfunctional relationship. The poor guy was probably in his garage working on a transmission while his sister had a full-blown meltdown in the kitchen. The texts came in a flood. "Netflix isn't working, you asshole. WTF? Why is my phone shut off? Where is the TV? The wedding venue called Mom crying. You canceled our wedding without telling me. I swear, Evan, you better get back here. I am not paying for this apartment. You are sick. I'm calling the cops. Where's my ring? Answer me, or I'm smashing your PS5. You forgot the charger." Each message was more hysterical than the last. I was laughing with every notification. Before I could even respond, Gavin snatched the phone out of my hands like it owed him money. He opened the camera, flipped it to selfie mode, and sent a beautiful, high-def picture of himself flipping the bird while holding a hot pocket. Then he typed, "Tell your landlord your options are covering the rent this month. Wedding's off. Sincerely, management." I was doubled over, howling. This is why Gavin has been my best friend for 15 years. About 10 minutes later, another text came through. This time it was actually from Caleb. "Dude, I don't even know how you put up with her for this long. My condolences. She's pacing the kitchen like she's about to star in her own true crime documentary. Mom is having a total meltdown about having to tell the extended family." I replied, "Respect for surviving in the same house all those years. She keeps asking where the ring is. I told her you probably returned it to Mordor." Caleb had a dark sense of humor. I like that about him. Dad is hiding in the garage. Mom is calling literally everyone on the family tree. Brianna is in full victim mode. It's like watching a nature documentary on suburban dysfunction. That night, I took a few practical precautions. I changed our Wi-Fi password to Independence007. I removed her from all shared accounts and canceled her access to Amazon Prime, just in case she thought she could stream her way into a new financial dependency. And then, I swear this is true, she posted on Instagram. The caption, "Sometimes you have to lose a man to find yourself. I'm finally free. Not all stories have a happy ending, but mine is just beginning. Healing single." The photo showed her sitting on the couch I bought, wrapped in a blanket I paid for, holding an empty wine glass with a beauty filter slapped on. She had turned our canceled wedding into a trailer for a Netflix documentary about suburban sadness. The comments were exactly what you'd expect. Friends writing, "You deserve better," and "He lost a queen," without knowing a single real detail. The social media echo chamber in all its glory. But here's where it gets interesting. Enter Harper. Harper was the kind of girl who hovers around every couple like a vulture. Never too close, never too far. Always ready to drop a supportive comment on my posts like, "You deserve better energy," whenever Brianna wasn't around. Pure pick-me behavior with a strategic twist. Monday afternoon, I got a DM from her. "Hey Evan, I don't want to cause drama, but I think you deserve to know the truth. Brianna has been treating you badly for a long time. Some of us saw it. I'm just sorry it took this long. You dodged a bullet canceling that wedding." Then she dropped the atomic bomb. Screenshots from their group chat. "Evan is so easy to manipulate, lol. Wedding planning is just an excuse to buy stuff. He thinks he's my fiancé, but he's really just my ATM with a ring. I've got 3 guys lined up for after the honeymoon. He's so pathetic. He pays for everything and thinks I'm grateful. LMAO. Can't wait to take his last name and half his stuff." And the worst part, screenshots of Brianna having an inappropriate relationship with some guy named Tristan. Explicit texts, complete disrespect for me. Plans to go see him while I was outside changing the battery on her car in the driveway. She was breaking my trust while we were planning our wedding, probably using our shared Google Calendar to schedule her hookups. Harper added, "I always knew you were a good guy. If you ever want to talk or hang out, I'm here." I waited exactly 3 minutes before replying. "Thanks for the info. Honestly, you're the only one who's had any sense through this whole circus." She sent a heart emoji. So I sent one last message. "Too bad loyalty only shows up after the ship has already sunk. Tell the others thanks for the entertainment. Peace." I blocked her immediately. Look, I'm not bitter. I'm just allergic to snakes trying to wear empathy as a perfume. Gavin saw the whole exchange and just shook his head. That girl has the depth of a puddle in a desert. 3 weeks of blessed silence. I was working full-time, hitting the gym with Gavin, and sleeping like a man who no longer had to worry about someone else's financial crisis. I'd picked up a few extra shifts. Life was good. Then I got the text. Unknown number. "Evan, it's Brianna. I'm pregnant. We need to talk about the wedding." I stared at the screen for a solid 10 seconds, then burst out laughing. I typed back, "Congratulations. Who's the father?" Her reply was instant. "Are you kidding me? It's yours, obviously. I'm 8 weeks pregnant. We have to get married before it shows." Now, I'm no doctor, but I'm very good at basic math. And by my calculations, we hadn't been intimate since January. It was now May. She was either having the longest gestation period in human history, or she genuinely thought I was dumb enough to fall for it. We'd barely been in the same room for the last month of our relationship, let alone been together in that way. 8 weeks. We broke up over a month ago. We haven't been intimate since January. Okay, well maybe it's 6 weeks. Still not possible. Okay, fine. For weeks. The point is, we need to have a small ceremony, just immediate family. I was just watching this woman try to manipulate time itself via text message. "Brianna, the laws of physics don't bend just because you're desperate." So I called her. She picked up on the first ring, her voice all soft and shaky like she was auditioning for a teen pregnancy drama. "Evan, I know we've had our problems, but this changes everything. We made a life together. Don't you want to do the right thing?" "Brianna, whose baby is it really?" She switched to defensive mode faster than a mousetrap. "I told you it's yours. I would never be unfaithful. We're supposed to be married." It was time to play my trump card. "That's interesting. So Tristan doesn't exist?" The silence on the other end of the line stretched for an eternity. "Tristan? Who's Tristan?" Not even a good lie. Just pure panic masquerading as confusion. "Tristan, your side piece for the last year. The one you were texting while I was planning our wedding. The one you were going to see while I was changing your flat tire." I could hear her breathing get shallow over the phone. More silence. I could almost feel her brain short-circuiting. "I don't know what you're talking about." Screenshots don't lie, Brianna. Your friend Harper sold you out faster than a politician in an election year. She showed me everything. She completely lost it. Harper? That backstabbing snake. She started screaming about how Harper was a fake friend, a jealous liar, and a bunch of other names that probably aren't in the dictionary. Full meltdown mode engaged. I had to hold the phone away from my ear. I hung up while she was still screaming. 2 hours later, she called back. New strategy. Shaky voice, fake vulnerability, the whole 9 yards. "Okay, the baby is yours. I just did the math wrong before. We can have a small wedding. I'll pay for half." "You did the math wrong on your own pregnancy?" I was emotional. "Look, I know you canceled everything, but we can still fix this. Vegas, maybe? Something simple." She was really committing to the bit. So now you're sticking to the lie while also admitting you lied? The mental gymnastics were impressive. So let me get this straight. You were unfaithful, got pregnant by another guy, and now you're trying to trap me into marriage because Tristan bailed on you. That's not. You're confusing me. I'm not confusing you. You're just bad at lying. I'm not lying. I love you. I want to marry you. And yes, Tristan ghosted me. Please, Evan. Fine. Then get a paternity test. I will. Great. Don't call me until you have the results. I hung up a second time. She never called back. Funny how that works. A few weeks went by. I was settling into my new routine. Work, gym, hanging out with Gavin, and actually having money left in my bank account at the end of the month. Life was good in that simple, drama-free way that makes you appreciate peace. I'd started picking up some side jobs on weekends, small crane gigs for cash. My savings account was looking a lot healthier. Then Caleb called with an update from the front lines. According to him, Brianna had been evicted from our old apartment after telling the landlord I had forgotten to pay the rent. She had moved back in with her parents, and she had brought Tristan with her. Yes, Tristan. The same Tristan who had supposedly ghosted her. Apparently, she had laid a massive guilt trip on him, sending him novels about how I'd abandoned her while she was pregnant, how she needed a real man to step up, how I'd left her at the altar and destroyed her dreams. Tristan, clearly lacking both brain cells and a spine, bought the whole story and showed up with a duffel bag, ready to play house. Caleb said that at family dinner, Tristan had been trying to explain how he was taking responsibility and that real men own up to their mistakes. The guy was 24, worked at a tire shop, and drove a 2011 Honda Civic with a busted muffler. Meanwhile, Brianna was posting cryptic Facebook statuses next to blurry ultrasound pictures about new beginnings and unexpected blessings. The best part? Tristan had no idea about the timeline. He thought I'd left her mid-pregnancy, that I had abandoned my own child, and canceled the wedding out of pure spite. Brianna had spun the entire narrative into a lifetime movie about heartbreak and betrayal. Caleb told me, "Dude, he actually thinks he's riding in on a white horse to save the day." Caleb, for his part, was just watching the disaster unfold like a nature documentary. "I'm just here for the explosion," he told me. He didn't have to wait long. That Saturday, Gavin and I were having a perfect day. We'd just watched the UFC fights. The main event was a heavyweight bout that ended in a stunning knockout. We'd eaten burritos from an awesome place down the street. The apartment was clean, life was good. I was telling Gavin about this new job site where we were putting up a 50-story residential tower when someone started hammering on the door like they had a warrant and a grudge. Gavin and I looked at each other. I opened it. There they were. Tristan, puffed up like he'd been inflated with testosterone and stupidity, and Brianna standing behind him, arms crossed, visibly pregnant, wearing a full face of makeup like she was about to film a courtroom drama. Tristan stepped forward, ready to deliver a monologue from a bad action movie. "You think you can just abandon a pregnant woman and walk away? You left her at the altar, man. I'm here to teach you a lesson, man to man." Great. The guy had watched one YouTube video titled, "How to be an Alpha in 3 Easy Steps," and decided to put it into practice. Behind him, Brianna started clapping. No exaggeration. She was actually clapping, like he'd just delivered a killer punchline at a comedy club. "Show him, babe. Show him what a real man does when someone disrespects his woman." I just watched this whole performance, trying not to laugh. Tristan looked like he spent a lot of time in the gym, but it was clear he had no real experience with confrontation. Big arms, a soft middle, and a look in his eyes that didn't match the energy he was putting out. The kind of guy who can bench press 300 pounds, but has never been in a real physical altercation. He charged. He didn't say anything else. He just lunged at me. I've worked in construction for 10 years, dealing with equipment failures and emergency situations where half a second of delay can be the difference between a safe day and a serious incident. Quick reflexes are part of the job. I simply sidestepped, and his own momentum carried him forward. He stumbled past me, lost his balance, and fell hard onto the concrete walkway. The confrontation, if you could even call it that, was over in an instant. He was left groaning on the ground, more surprised and embarrassed than anything else. Brianna let out a horrified shriek, as if this were a shocking plot twist and not the logical conclusion of attacking someone on their own property. Then her focus shifted. Eyes wild, her voice rising to a frequency that could shatter glass. She moved toward my pickup truck with something metal in her hand, a key or maybe a screwdriver. Before I could even react, Gavin appeared like he'd been shot out of a cannon. Still chewing his burrito, he stepped between her and my truck, grabbing her by the elbow and moving her away with reflexes I didn't know he had. "Ma'am, that's a Ford," he said through a mouthful of food. "Not your emotional punching bag. Beat it. Gavin, get out of our way. Seriously, are you people naturally this dramatic, or do you practice? Get out of here." She was flailing and screaming, trying to break free, but Gavin has that deceptive strength that comes from years of welding and carrying heavy equipment. Tristan staggered to his feet, ego deflated, his eyes watering from his brief meeting with the concrete. I stepped forward, calm as a lake, and pointed at both of them. "Take your drama and get off my property before I call the cops and make this everyone's problem." Tristan didn't say a word. He just gave one sharp nod and helped Brianna to their beat-up car like he was leaving the scene of a crime. The muffler was so loud it sounded like a chainsaw having an asthma attack. She was still yelling as they drove away, but I couldn't hear any of it over the roar of their exhaust. Gavin and I just stood there for a minute. Then he wiped his hands on his sweatpants and said, "I bet that kid's first word is going to be unstable." An hour later, my phone lit up. It was Marianne, Brianna's mom, in full crisis mode. A wall of text about how I'd created an unsafe situation involving a pregnant woman, how Tristan was injured, and how I was going to have legal trouble. It included a whole tirade about how I destroyed her daughter's wedding dreams and ruined the family's reputation. I didn't reply. I just took screenshots and called my lawyer. First thing Monday morning, I filed for a restraining order. I attached all the evidence, the texts, the pregnancy lies, the video from my doorbell camera showing the confrontation, and for good measure, copies of all the canceled wedding contracts showing that I was the one who had paid for everything. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even surprised. I was just done. A week after the restraining order was approved, Gavin sent me a link with the message, "Bro, you're gonna love this." It was a GoFundMe page. The title, "Pregnant," left at the altar and starting over with a broken heart emoji. The description was a soap opera script of lies and manipulation. She was asking for money for medical bills, moving expenses, emotional support, and rebuilding after the wedding disaster. She even posted a picture of herself in a wedding dress, not the one I canceled, but some cheap knockoff she'd bought on Amazon. The caption read, "The dress I'll never get to wear because my ex-fiancée abandoned me and our unborn child." Gavin had already donated $1 with the comment, "Thoughts and prayers." By a clue. The page was reported for fraud and taken down in less than 48 hours. Tristan officially vanished 2 days later. He deleted all his social media, blocked Brianna, and disappeared like he should have in the first place. Caleb told me he heard Brianna screaming into her pillow. He was my last option. I'm never going to find anyone else. The irony was beautiful. As for me, I kept rebuilding. I picked up more shifts at work, got a raise to $82,000 base, and bought myself better tools. The DeWalt Impact driver I'd been wanting for months. A real toolbox. Quality safety gear. I moved into a new place with my own garage and a view that wasn't a dumpster. I started seeing someone else. A completely different energy. Her name is Riley. She's a mechanic, owns her own shop, Riley's Garage, specializes in diesel engines, drives a '95 Ford F-250, and can smell BS from 3 counties away. The first time I told her the Brianna saga, she said, "Your ex sounds like the type to cry in a mirror just to practice her victim face." When I mentioned the canceled wedding, she just laughed and said, "The best investment you ever made was not making that mistake permanent." I knew I liked her for a reason. We met at a job site where she was fixing a contractor's truck. She had her arm deep in the engine bay, covered in grease, cursing out a stubborn bolt like it owed her money. Then, right on cue, another unknown number texted me. "You think replacing me makes you a man? You're pathetic. You ruined my life." No name, but we all knew who it was. I screenshotted it, sent it to my lawyer, and added it to the restraining order file. Then I blocked the number. No reply, no reaction, no engagement. Some people only come into your life to teach you what you should never tolerate. Brianna was a 3-year masterclass in financial boundaries and red flag recognition. I learned the lesson, got the degree, and graduated with honors. Life is good when you know your worth and you don't sign legal documents tying yourself to that kind of chaos. Comment. Sharing stories like this is always a powerful reminder of our strength. True self-respect isn't about winning arguments. It's about knowing when to walk away from them entirely. Setting boundaries is one of the kindest things you can do for your future self. You're not responsible for managing someone else's choices, but you are responsible for protecting your peace. Healing often begins the moment you decide your well-being is non-negotiable. Sometimes, the quiet life you build after the storm is the greatest victory of all. Remember to be patient and kind with yourself through your journey. The right people will celebrate your boundaries, not test them. I hope you always find the courage to choose the path that leads back to your calm and stability. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.